All right, guys, welcome to a bit of an interesting Aussies taking over the NBA pod today. We're doing a Philly half-year team review. Just under 41 games played for the year. So we're just under halfway, but we thought it'd be a good time with the 2019 tick over to give you guys a bit of a player ratings on the Aussies in the team, talk about some of the other key pieces of each team's and how they are doing so far. So today is the Philadelphia 76ers player review, obviously with Big Ben Simmons playing and Jonah Bolden as well. We'll go into a little bit of it, but currently Philly's got 36 games played. They currently sit fourth in East with a win record of 23 and loss of 14. So they're 3.5 games back from Toronto, not that far. Points scored per game, 114, and points given up, 112. So the defensive rating is not great at the moment, but scoring quite well also. We can have a look back so far at the season. We've obviously had the signings of Muscala, Chandler. We lost TLC, Timothée, Luaru, Cabarro to OKC in the Melo trade.
Yeah, I think it was Atlanta.
And Anderson went to Atlanta, and Rashawn went to the Suns. And Rashawn Holmes has been playing actually some good backup minutes at the Suns.
Yeah.
So it was also the big blockbuster trade. We traded Saric and Covington for Butler, which seems like to have been both a bit of a blessing in disguise and also a little bit of an uncovering, because it's really given us a big hole in bench depth rotation, as well as giving us a clutch guy and a great player in Jimmy Butler. So interesting season thus far. We seem to be doing really well at home. 39-4 at home in the year of 2018, which is a crazy stat, like 90% win percentage at home. But we just seem to be struggling on the road this year for some games and struggling against some of the bigger players in the league, especially in the East, to win games at home or away. So we have lost both games away to Boston. We've been able to beat the Raptors, severely depleted Raptors at home, and we haven't been able to beat the Bucks thus far. However, there are positives. I think Ben Simmons has showed that he's as good as he is last year. So far this year, he's played in 35 of 36 games, and he was not played in Detroit due to injury.
Yeah, what was it, a foot or something?
Yeah, it was like a foot issue.
It was so far ago, I can't remember.
It was just like a one game, you just rest that. 16 points per game, up a little bit on last season, 0.2. But look, if you look at him, completely the same statistics as of last year, up a little bit in rebounding. Defensive rating is a little bit down, which is a little bit disappointment. However, he is defending the 4 and 5 more this year. Yeah. When you see the switches, because obviously our backup point guard, Markelle Fultz, has not worked out, and TJ's been more of that backup. So he's been kind of guarding the 1-2, and Ben has been moving to the 4 and 5. Offensively, look, he's not shooting volume. We know what kind of player he is. He's taking those looks that he needs to. He's scoring within 5 feet at will. Yeah. He's almost like just under Antetokounmpo at ability to score at the rim. Shooting 50%, 57.8% from the field, up a little bit from last season. 6.5 field goals made on 11.2 attempts, down a little bit from last season. He's not shooting the ball as much, but again, scoring the same points. But I think it's efficiency.
Well, the spot in his game where if you look at his usage, if his usage goes down, you're not going to say, well, that's taking away a huge part of his game, because obviously he's able to assist the offense by getting assists and moving the ball, and in transition, he's able to do a lot more on the court. So if his usage is dropping a little bit, it's not going to matter, because then his facilitation is going to go up. But you're right about the defensive end. On the defensive end, obviously, we want to see him make some advances this season. In general, for his own sake, not necessarily in the Philly I think snow globe. It's not going to matter.
It's caught in two minds. So you defend the 4, players are going to go hard at him, and they know he really can't foul them, because if he fouls out, it's not like an Embiid or something. The game kind of is fallen by the wayside. So he's not aggressively looking. He'll let a few players blow by him where potentially Embiid or a Butler may throw a cheeky arm in, or even a Saric, because if they foul out, there's a little bit of depth. But if he fouls out, you've kind of got McConnell to come down the straight, which isn't a bad thing, but then it opens up a lot of switches on McConnell for easy points.
Yeah.
He's very undersized, good on the offensive end, but very undersized, and some of the bigger, they just play big ball against him. That's why Simmons comes on the floor. It opens up that ability to play small ball and have a really fast mobile off-ball handler in Ben Simmons when TJ's taking more of the point duties. But free throw percentage, still very disappointing, 58.8%, up a little bit, but he's getting to line more often, but he's not converting.
Yeah.
And it just seems to be he puts weird rotations on his shot on the ball shot. It's almost like Randall, but Randall's mastered that shot, whereas he hasn't mastered the shot yet. A little bit disappointing. I think if there was one thing he could work on that doesn't matter about anything else, is getting that free throw percentage up to 75 plus.
Yeah, because that's going to mean more points in general. And obviously, if you look at their one more free throw attempt this season, teams are going to foul him a lot more because they know they can foul him. And that's an actual play now. They know that this guy is going to shoot, sub 60% at the free throw line. Unless he gets that up, that's going to become more and more of a tactic as the season goes on.
Or just wrap him up.
Yeah, just go after him, make sure he doesn't finish, because he gets a lot of dunks and a lot of stuff where he curls through and, cuts to the basket with the ball and can finish wide open. And if you take that away from him, obviously that's another way he's going to have to think about scoring and doing different things. Offensive rebounding is up a little bit too, which is good. It's getting to the boards and hustling, and then assists down just slightly, but I still put that down to the roster changes.
I see. Yeah, it's down to the roster changes. It's down to a pretty poor start to the season, playing 12 games with Markelle Fultz. Well, no, again, their offensive rating was so poor because you have two ball handlers that need the ball in their hands to distribute. Markelle Fultz was a scorer. He is no longer a scorer.
Yeah.
He needed the ball in his hands to distribute, and therefore Simmons' assists went way down a bit. But now you see that he's getting 12. The triple doubles are starting to come back. He's finding his feet again. I think he'll finish up on assists and rebounds, but it's just at the moment in this halfway point a little bit down. But defensively rebounding up a little bit. Steals down, not picking the pockets as much. Blocks down a little bit.
He doesn't really need to do that though, because Jimmy Butler came in.
Yes,
it's not like he doesn't need to be relied upon to be a defensive monster anymore. It's not necessarily because Jimmy Butler is a different. He's good defense. It's not because Jimmy Butler's good defensively. It's just the way Covington changes. Taking Covington out changes the way they defend completely because he's such a good perimeter defender. He was able to hide Ben Simmons on the defensive end at the perimeter. Now it's like Ben Simmons has to take the step out and go, I've got to actually help Jimmy Butler do other things and do this and that. And it's more the fact that he wants to do that and he's trying to do that, which I like, rather than having a guy who can just take those responsibilities away from him. Don't worry, you don't need to do that. You don't have to worry about that on this team. I feel like Butler's making him a better player, even though his numbers are down a tiny bit defensively. I think he's going to make him a better player in general because Jimmy Butler's not going to go, I'll do that for you, mate. Jimmy Butler's going to go, you do it. Yeah. You do it, even if you're not good enough, you do it, you get better at it.
Yeah.
So I feel like that's working well for him this season.
I think the pairing has worked well. I think we've given away so many pieces of our team in trades and considerations, and I think we gave away two good players to get one really good player, but then our bench depth's been down. Wilson Chandler, we can go into some quick grades of the other players as we go, but it's showed Ben's game. I think Ben's game would be a lot better with the original players. I think the stats would show it, but again, still a stats behemoth. Steals down a little bit. Blocks down, I would say, because he's not playing on so many guards anymore. He's playing on bigs, which means that you're not going to get as many shot blocks. Turnovers still equal at 3.4. Still a good assist to turnover ratio, 2-1. Fouling 2.6 a game. Smart, but again, could get a little bit better in the defensive end. Highlights so far, 26.9 against Toronto, but again, that's severely depleted Toronto. 26 points, 12 rebounds, 8 assists or 1 block, and 11 from 13 from the field. He also had a big triple-double against the Cavs, 22 points, 14 assists, 11 rebounds, 24 double-doubles so far, and 5 triple-doubles.
Just a monster stuff in the second year, man.
Second half, he seems to be going well. He's 17 triple doubles of his career. He seems to be a smarter Russell Westbrook.
Yeah,
that's what I seem to.
That just doesn't want to shoot, whereas Westbrook loves shooting.
Westbrook loves shooting. Doesn't mean he's good at it.
Yeah, he just loves it.
It's a love shooting. He's definitely not stats padding. We know that. He just goes out and does exactly what he needs to do, and that's what he gets. That's what he gets. In terms of grading, I definitely agree with Ben. B+.
B+, yeah. I think
he's good.
There's areas of his games that could push him into an A.
Yeah,
A-.
I mean we're not playing NBL here. We're playing NBA.
Yeah.
Against other guards, he's still not a top 5 guard yet. I think that there are a lot of other guards in the league that add more depth to their team, either defensively or offensively. He's probably a top 10 guard, probably towards the 9 or 10. But yeah, definitely a B+. So many areas of your game he needs to work on. If he if he got up to 80% free throw, he'd be an A.
Yeah,
A-.
definitely.
That one thing would increase his ability and his grading, I think, from my mind.
Yeah, but again, like we did the grades for the NBL. Like, talking about the MVP in the NBL. It's a league-wide thing. Like you look at his game league-wide.
Yeah.
But obviously in this setting, we're looking at team by team by team and different teams, whereas we're the Kings, we're looking at just the Kings. So to us, a player doesn't need to make a huge stride for more league-wide recognition. Yeah. Like to us, he doesn't need to shoot, he doesn't need to do this and that. Like he doesn't need to be a better defender. He just needs to keep doing what he's doing. But to get the actual recognitions and the accolades from the wider NBA audience, that's how they see it. And I don't feel like him as like Ben Simmons as a player. Like you're not looking at him going, oh, I don't know if he has that in the locker, man. Like you're looking at him go, he has that in the locker. Bring it out, mate.
Yeah.
Which I prefer to. Don't think he has that. Like what do we do here, guys? Like. So
some nights he shoots 80% from free throw.
Yeah.
So it's not as like he doesn't have it in the locker. He just, I think he rushes. I think his style of play, his ambidextrity or whatever how you say that, it plays on his mind a little bit. He doesn't know quite how to go about it. But I think a B+ is a fair grade, and I probably would have given him, based on last year, A- because he was a rookie. This year, there's a few little things that we've seen that we need to have seen that, Sarrington and Covington and Saric. That was a good.
Yeah, that was a good one.
A good one.
Like that one.
Really showed, I think, Saric with the ability to knock down threes at the 10 and 12. Covington with his perimeter defense. They gave him those extra assists. They hid his defensive incapabilities, and that's what his stats were a little bit higher last year. This year, he's been able to up his game in hindsight. I think 12 games of Markel hurt his stats. But as an overall player, fantastic, and will continue to improve as we go.
Definitely.
Next, we go to Jonah Bolden. Turns 23 today. Happy birthday, Jonah.
Hey.
A bit of a mixed year so far. Obviously playing in between the Delaware 76ers, Bluecoats, whatever you want to call them, and the Philly team getting called up and down, obviously on a 4-year contract, so we're going to see lots of growth from him.
Yeah.
Played 12 games this year for Philly, 9.9 minutes a game, 2.3 points per game, shooting 37.9% from the field. Again, seems to be making not many 3-pointers, 11.8%. Can shoot a 3. I think he's going through a bit of a cold stretch. I think he
can shoot the 3, and it depends what threes that they're spitting him out in the offense. Like he's not a guy that's going to demand the shot. No. Like I get to here, you give me this shot. Yeah. He's kind of just taking whatever he can get at the time. He hit a nice sort of trail 3. Like I think a couple of months ago, it was nice, and then you're like, oh, that's his 3. But then when you watch Philly play, it's like he's got to do a bunch of different things defensively in transition. He's not always going to be the guy that trails there and gets to that spot. He's going to get there maybe 1 every 10 trips down the floor. Yeah. And if he's not there and he's not going to get the ball, then you just got to sit back and go, oh, well, you're going to shoot the 3. He's not a guy that's going to demand the ball either. Like they're not demanding offense go through him. So I don't mind that he's not shooting the 3 ball all that well. It's like glaring statistic that you look at and go 11.8% for three. That's not great.
Yeah, but he hasn't played enough minutes, hasn't shot enough. You know,
And he does different things that you
plays in garbage time as well. Plays a lot of garbage time. So I think we'll see a lot more of him. Towards the season. Moving on, obviously with Chandler not being what we thought, Amir Johnson being a little bit offensively lacking. We'll see a little bit more of him at the 5 spot. And hopefully he can get his numbers up. But when you look at his Delaware numbers, I mean, he's had some really good games where he shot like 80% from 3. And so he can do it. It's just a question of obviously getting him the minutes. Defensively, rebounding 2.1, 0.3 steals game. Blocks, I think he's a great rim protector. Looking more and more like...
that's the big thing,
Yeah, you can get to the rim.
And I've noticed like these shot blocker guys... The way the NBA is transforming into this fast, free-flowing run-and-gun style, these shot blocker guys get left behind because their job is to move around and hunt. So they're obviously in different positions if there's a missed basket, like a missed 3. They're trapped low. They've got to make up space running the floor a lot more. They've got to move a lot more. They're looking around the floor for different things a lot more. I think his game isn't going to develop as a shot blocker. I think he's just going to be a defensive all-round guy that can block shots. Whereas if you look at Thon Maker's bit of a different build, you're looking at that guy going, oh, he's a shot blocker. He doesn't have the body. Like, I think Jonah Bolden has the body to do all-round body work on defense as well as block shots. So I'm not looking at that going, oh, no, you know, I don't want to sort of make any predictions about his career in general. But I'm not looking at that going, that's a detriment to his game. Man, I'd love to see him in that Australia team.
I think you will get there.
Yeah,
I think just some minutes. He's had a little bit of injury this year, and we will see it. But look, 0.7 turnovers per game, not great. But again, not getting a lot of minutes. He's finding his way in the rotation. I think as well.
Sure. It's his first year too,
and he does get a lot of fouls though. He's a little bit more slappy. Highlight of the season so far: plus 14 night against Toronto, 4 points, 4 blocks, 9 rebounds, 1 assist, and a career high 8 points against the loss in Portland recently, and has played in 7 wins and 5 losses. Look, his strengths are he can shoot the ball. We've seen it. I think he's a stretch 4, not a 5. I think they're playing him out of sorts. They've obviously got two 4s in Muscala and Chandler, and they kind of play him at the 5 because he is that Antetokounmpo build. So he can play the 5. But I think he's a stretch 4. He's a trail stretch 4. Can put the ball on the floor. Have seen that. Is pretty handy and... just needs to get a little bit more time. A little bit more time and a little bit more confidence in his shot. We have seen that he can shoot the ball.
It's a real first year. Like you look at him and go, wow, raw. First year player, very raw. He's in a spot too in that franchise where he's going to get a lot of time through Brett Brown. He's not fighting tooth and nail for a spot or fighting tooth and nail to stay on a roster, which will be good for him. I think he'll develop. But all the raw tools, I think, are there. It's just going to be experience, getting to know the league, getting to find his spot on that team. I had him graded at a C, which isn't, not necessarily a blight on his game in general.
No, it's the thing like you could almost ungrade him because we haven't seen enough of him to really warrant a grade in this system. He just kind of gets thrown in at odd moments when they're needing an extra player at the moment. But if I was going to give him a grade, it'd be C. Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So that's the Aussie. Let's run through the rest of the team.
Yeah.
We'll go Jimmy Buckets. Jimmy Buckets, I'm giving definitely an A. Some of the clutch moments. One of the premier clutch shooters. Win against the Hornets. Blocking that shot, dragging it back in, and then hitting the game winner. Man, that's just that is class.
Yeah. I think the effect that he's had on the team is not just about the fundamentals of basketball. It's having a flow-on effect to everybody. And I think it's what they needed. They needed somebody to go, right, let's give these guys some intensity. Like, Embiid's obviously the main guy, but having a guy that Embiid can feed off of makes them a better team.
Yeah, definitely.
It makes the intensity level go up even more, and I think it drags Ben Simmons' game up, and it's going to drag the rest of the team's game up.
It will. I think they need to get a couple of, like Zaire Smith coming back next year, a couple of maybe 1 or 2 good pieces. Potentially there is, if they get rid of Fultz and Wilson, there is that opportunity to sign another $25 million player for a season, like a one and done, which could only, add stature and potential for next season. JJ Redick, B+. Dude's having career shooting form. Like, you know, as a vet, just having around what his effect has on the young guys, I think is fantastic. What he's doing for Shamit's game is amazing. One big thing with Redick is potentially, defensively he does get pipped a bit.
Yeah.
He's a little bit undersized, a bit older. He's still quick for an old guy, 34. But defensively, he was shown up in the finals last year as a little bit unplayable, unless he's shooting above 70%. Then that defensive lacking and that three ball effect is kind of neutralized, and he's worth the wait. Wilson Chandler, I'm going to give guy a C-. I just don't think he adds anything to the game.
Fits on that team.
It doesn't fit to the team. He's not a volume shooter. He's not really defensively minded, doesn't get to the rim a lot, doesn't get to the line a lot, hits an odd three, low volume, high percentage. It's not what the team needs. Team needs a high volume scorer, potentially, or a slasher at 4, or someone who could spread the floor.
They need to basically find that power forward next season. I mean, if you're looking through the future, that spot is where they need to find that right player next year.
Yes, that's where we need.
Because I don't think Chandler and maybe Muscala off the bench might be a decent sort of contract.
Muscala is a serviceable 4. $5 million a season. He's definitely been worth the purchase. But Chandler at $12 million, just like, oh
yeah, it's too much for his position on the team.
Yeah, especially when Simmons isn't a shooting one. I mean, if you've got 4 scorers around a facilitator, you don't need to. Yeah. Simmons doesn't need to score any more than 16 points a night.
So what's your grade for Muscala? The
Moose. Look, I'm going to give him a B-.
Yep.
I think in times he's been brilliant. Some of the shot blocking, when Embiid went down, plays well. He's just very hot and cold. Some nights he has great nights, some nights he's off. But again, for a role player, a B- is a very fair call. Amir Johnson, probably a C.
Yeah.
Just one of those stable vets that is defensively pretty good. Offensively is lacking a bit. He's just an old, serviceable big.
So if you look down this list of their roster, right, you've got Amir Johnson, 13 years experience. And then you've got JJ Redick at 12, and then Wilson Chandler at 10. And then Jimmy Butler at 7. Like, you look at the main part. Well, the main part of the team, Amir Johnson's like a third choice kind of step in and fill the role type of guy. JJ Redick's your main veteran. But even in terms of stature, Embiid, the guy with 2 years experience, or this is his 3rd year, that's one of your main guys already. TJ's 3 years, Muscala's 5 years, and Butler 7. Like, the main parts of this team aren't even cooked yet.
No.
Like, there's still 3 or 4 years, 5 years of like cooking still for this team to do. So I think it's important. What did you him here?
Just a C.
C.
Just the average C.
What about Joel Embiid?
A+ to MVP.
Yeah.
Just
MVP.
He's not.
I think he has a real shot at it.
I think he's a real shot. I think probably his body on the back-to-backs is what's letting him down. I mean, it's his first full season, first full off season. He's probably not fit. He gets asked to do a lot in this team as well.
Yeah.
But his moves, his ability to score, his ability to block hunt, his defensive prowess, his ability to change shot directory, his ability to assist, like his screen assist for JJ Redick. If you looked at that stats, amazing. His 3-ball isn't too bad. Like, he's the all-round big. He's like the modern big that you want. Is the Jokic, the Porzingis. He's this generation of modern big. He's been playing basketball for 7 years.
Yeah.
It's just amazing.
If you look here, he's had 11 games between 20 and 29 points. He's had 13 games between 30 and 39 points and 3 games between 40 and 49 points.
Yeah.
It's incredible.
It's incredible.
And if you look at the rebounds, he's had between 10 and 14, he's had 17 games, and then between 15 and 19,
he's a double machine.
Rebounds, he's had 13 games. Like it's fantastic. Like some of the stats, I think he's the main part of that team, and he's only a couple of years in.
Yeah, he'll get better, and he'll get better and better. And his shooting is phenomenal. The ability to get to the line, like fouls drawn, is second in the league. I think he's an actual big that gets fouled, not like Harden who just gets blown by. He's smart the way he gets fouled. Some of his pull through J's and gets slapped on the way down, and he hits his free throw percentage is crazy. Just an all-round fantastic player.
What about some of the other guys like TJ McConnell?
Look, TJ for me is a C+. He's a great role player. You know, someone who's undrafted who's made his craft in the league. From my mind, his defensive is a little bit down this year, not pinching as many pockets, but his offense is up. So, that ability to find space in the mid-range and knock down at a really high rate is his prowess. Can knock down the 3-ball if he needs to. But very crafty in the way he goes about his offense. Assists well. Good little floor general and a great backup point guard. For the price he commands, I think he's on $1.5 million a season. Just nothing. So that's really good.
Then what about Shamet and Korkmaz?
Look, Shamet, for my mind, is a B-. I think he's come into the league and done something that we haven't seen from a rookie that deep in the first round in a while. He's just crafted his niche. He's just mirrored his game on JJ Redick, come off the screen, shoot a really flat 3 and knock down the 3-ball. I think his perimeter defense is not too bad as well. I think he gets a little bit bullied inside just because he's 6'5", I think, and a lot of teams tend to switch on to him inside the paint. But his perimeter defense is good. He's an inch taller than Redick. So definitely a 2-guard for the future.
Yep.
My mind, Korkmaz.
Furkan
Korkmaz. Yeah, look, he dropped 40 in a summer league. He could shoot the 3-ball, but he's very hot and cold. I think defensively he gets blown by a little bit. Has some silly areas around the rim. Finishing around the rim is not great. But serviceable enough to be a good role player if you get him at the right price. I think it's all about building a team around, obviously, your main guys. He can come on. I think he just gets a little bit exploited in areas at times.
What was your grade?
I'm going to say C.
C?
Yeah, C. Markelle Fultz.
Oh, yeah, let's talk about Markelle.
If you watch him at Washington State, you'd be like, wow, this dude is the next MVP. Almost Derrick Rose-like with the ability to shoot the ball, get to the rim, defend. And then he gets here and he's just like, what's going on? And then we get a diagnosis of thoracic outlet syndrome, which for my mind, if you look at it, is a little bit BS.
You reckon?
He went to 7 doctors, one diagnosed him with thoracic outlet syndrome.
That's kind of weird. They have a few different things like that in the US.
Yeah, it's kind of like whiplash here. Whiplash doesn't exist anywhere else in the world. It's a made-up condition because you can get money out of your green slip. True story.
That's weird.
Doesn't exist in New Zealand. There's no condition called whiplash in New Zealand because there is no way to get money for it. So, for my mind, a thoracic outlet syndrome, a little bit like that.
So, what, in terms of
something's going on,
how it affects his game, is it going to be long term? Like, is it something you play through and manage, or is it a mental thing from having that injury?
I think it's a mental thing from an old injury. It's like the shoulder may not work mechanically how you'd like it, and if that's thoracic outlet syndrome, that's thoracic outlet syndrome. But he hasn't, you look at what Drew Hanlon did with him in the offseason, some of the videos, he looked good. He looked like he really had gotten his shot back, and then he just kind of reverted back to his old ways when things weren't happening. So he's got the yips.
Yeah,
it's a condition.
Yips.
He's got the yips.
Sure.
He's just a choke. He's just choked. I think that he needs to move on from Philly. I think he'll have a place in the league. In 2 years, 3 years, or 4 years' time, you look at the resurgence of D Rose, definitely in line for MIP this year. He could be that. He could be that guy that came into the league, didn't quite make it, just took a step back. The problem is the money. He's on $9 million a season,
and the rookie status too.
And Philly don't want to give up that pick. Like, oh yeah, we picked this guy at 1. We made all these moves to get this guy at 1, and he choked.
Yeah, well, hopefully quickly they just understand that. Oh well, we're moving on. Thanks.
Just move.
Yeah, right. We stuffed up.
Move him on for a late first round pick. Do your scouting well. Get a guy in that's really good. Mate, pick up Brian Bowen. Who cares?
Yeah. Bobo, that'd be good.
Bobo, but
I feel like with the Jimmy Butler trade, that's opened up a way. Not necessarily with the cap and the way their team is structured. It's opened up a whole lot of different player opportunities for them. Oh, right. Now we can just slot 1, 2, 3, 4 in, bang. And we've got a proper team again.
Yep.
And they're all, there's little bits of experience here and there that can be built upon. As opposed to before, it was all of those other guys going back further to TLC and that. they were kind of a lot of almost there guys where
Yeah.
you're rolling the dice on about 7 guys coming good,
Yeah.
rather than now you're only rolling the dice on about 4 guys. Simmons obviously is going to come good. Korkmaz, Shamit, Fultz you can just discard, but there's less, like there's more actual pieces on this team with Butler there.
Yeah, and I think they've built some really good role players like TJ and Bolden. These guys are going to be good role players for like 5 or 6 years. They're not going to demand 5, 6, 7 mil a season. They're on their low contracts. They're going to be great role players that come in and give you solid 15 to 20 minutes. And they do their thing and they get better. Like TJ's got a lot better. Bolden will get better just because of his dimensions. And I think what we've seen some of the G League and what he did at Maccabi Tel Aviv. So we will get guys that are like that. What we need to do is recognize where we've made faults. In fault.
Markel.
and Chandler, I think, as well, is a bit of a guy just like... You had Saric, who, may not have been the most mobile power forward, but man, he could knock down the 3-ball when it was open. And he was a high volume guy, and then he just plays him back down traditional 80s b-ball. Like, I'm just going to back this guy down. Good shot inside. Could do a little bit of rim protecting, and then we've gotten to Chandler, who just gets blown by, gives silly fouls, and doesn't really shoot in high volume. And so who was who did they get off of? Who was the money they got off of? Bayless? Oh, they got rid of Bayless's contract, which is $8 million a season.
So at least that's out of the way.
Yeah, but that was
at the very least.
That was ending next year anyway.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah.
There's only one more season on that. It was Roko and Saric. And we, very happy trade for Butler, but we've now lost a really pivotal piece. We need to pick back up in free trade. I think Butler, Simmons, and Embiid will draw one person to the team, one star for a season.
Yep.
Like a one and done, $25 million. All right, let's get it. I'm going to get a title with this team. Like I see the vision of this team as a title contender. I don't see them as a title contender this year.
Nah.
I think Simmons needs to grow. I think Embiid's growing, getting that back to back. Butler's finding his way in the team and, losing a couple of pieces. I think next year is the year. I mean, Simmons has still got one more year on his rookie deal as of next year. I think he's up to $8.5 million. They will get a chance next year to get a good one and done, not a silly pickup like Chandler. Redick will take less money next year. Redick will just be on one-year contracts, flowing one-year contracts. He doesn't deserve it. I mean, he's on $12 million. I think that's a great price for him.
Yeah,
what he's brought to the team, but he'll take less next year, and there'll be a $25 million opening. You look at guys like Isaiah Smith. Hopefully, comes back to the G League this year and shows some of the form of why he was picked at I think 6 or 8 or 9. And Shake Milton, late pick 56, playing some interesting trash minutes. Can shoot the 3-ball. Defends quite well against some non-premier attackers, but defends quite well, and that's what probably the last grade we can give it is Shake Milton, and I'm going to give him a C+, because I think what he's done in the G League is he's killed the G League. He's better than the G League.
Yeah, that's the good thing about these guys going down there and getting some actual some
playing
meat,
volume games.
some meat on their bones in terms of their developing their game and stuff like that. So what was your grade for Fultz?
Sorry, I'm going to have to give it a C-.
C-.
He's not D. Like, when he played, he actually played all right.
Yeah.
Scored about 8 points a game, gave a few assists, rebounded well, defended okay, was quick, moved in transition. He just didn't work. Didn't work. Him and Simmons didn't work. Two guys that can't shoot. He can't play the 2 spot. And it kind of brought Simmons down. The offensive efficiency was terrible. I think it was 91. And now it's 114. So it just didn't work. And we it's cool. You know, you picked up
just that whole narrative and the whole he was first pick, and that's not going to go away overnight. But as long as the franchise itself goes, we're drawing a line in the sand. We're going to get over it. We're going to just move past it. Sorry,
what were they thinking in picking up a second first pick point guard? Knowing you've scouted Simmons, this is your franchise cornerstone. This is the first number 1 pick you've got, right? Embiid was at number 3. This is your franchise cornerstone. You could see what he was doing. He got injured, and then they're like, oh, he may be injury. Look at what Joel will pick up Fultz. No, what you should have done is had faith in Simmons and picked up a really good 2 guard or a power forward.
Well, was that what they were trying to do for Fultz? Pick up a 2 guard, basically?
No, he's a 1 guard.
Yeah, but was that what they were trying to do?
I don't know what they were trying to do. I think there was a bit of some of the weird things that they did with Brian Colangelo there and that whole falling out, and Just
yeah, I
weird.
suppose that's got to you got to really think about that too. Like
The owners really don't care as well. They're kind of like, yeah, Philly's doing all right. You know, we're not going to spend too much money. The 29th out of 30 franchises in terms of salary.
You got to think that whole Brian Colangelo thing. Who knows? You'll probably never know what happened with that.
Yeah.
Right. And that's got to at least have some sort of effect on the way the front office ran things back then with the pick. Like, whether it was mid to long term they were thinking, whether they, you know, there was no other assets maybe in the draft. Like, you look at this, like, who else could have picked? I'm going down the list. Tatum obviously was the main one.
Tatum, they traded up. They traded out of Tatum
yeah.
to get Fultz. There you are.
That's, yeah, okay. Like, you've let that go through the keeper and it's cleaned up your off stump. So you got to come out in the second innings and try and make something happen from that. But looking through this, there's not really that many. Like Donovan Mitchell, maybe, but
Yeah, but
you wouldn't have picked
13,
him up high.
You wouldn't have picked him up high.
And then looking at the rest of them, like the Tatum's the main one, obviously, and then Josh Jackson maybe, but he's, De'Aaron Fox was another point guard, and then Isaac Markkanen maybe. I don't know. I'm, as long as Philly as a franchise is happy to just go, right, draw a line in the sand, don't care about any of that.
Yep.
Good. You can be upset that he was a number one pick and we're getting rid of him. Too bad. We're going to do it.
Yep.
Because the more they get sucked into that whole, oh, no, we don't want to look bad because we did this. Oh,
yeah.
we're going to look bad. It'll just cripple the decision-making and the way they're going to get out of this.
Yeah. Yep.
So, yeah, that's about it for Philly.
That's it. We
wrap that one up.
Wrap that on up. Thanks for staying with us, guys. Again, we're going to pump out for all the Aussie teams a little bit of a half-season wrap. And then in the next couple of days, we're going to go through our overs and unders and wrap up all the games. So a lot of content coming out. We're also starting a Patreon for this page.
Yes.
So stay tuned for that. That's going to have some pretty exclusive content for our Patreon listeners. Looking forward to getting that up and running. But thank you for staying with us. And we will see you again very soon.
See ya.